Today, we're going to be talking about the 5 tips to vanquish medical debt from your life.
I like that. Vanquish. We're going to vanquish the beast. I'm a fan, especially when it comes to debt and especially when it comes to medical debt. Nobody likes debt, especially medical debt. Good Lord. Ugh.
Yeah, I didn't mean to make Monday's podcast so like dreary and sad. I feel like whenever we talk about like anything when it comes to like the systems that be, and like I always try to say like control what you can control, right? And don't complain about things that you can't. But like this is just one of those situations that are just so beyond F that there are many points just like I'm sorry, it's just the way it is. Like it's terrible, and it just is.
Such a broken system. Yeah, I knew it was broken before the podcast, but after, Chris educated me on the whole ins and outs, and someone who's really, you've been to the hospital more than I have, you've lived a little bit more than I have, been around the block, you know about it a little bit more than me. Dude, It's so much worse than I imagined. Yeah,
it's really bad, and I didn't really go as deep as I wanted to into like how the selling of debt works in America and like how bad of a system that is. Like it's crazy like how dark like that system gets too. And like everything's for profit, right? And everyone asks like, well, why do we even have this medical? Like why is it so bad here in America? And it's because medically it's a for-profit entity. Like we try to make money through people being sick. But then also the insurance, the one that's supposed to negotiate for prices and protect you, is also a for-profit entity. So everyone's trying to make money and extract money from the end user here. So that's why like the system just doesn't work when there's no one system of people trying to make money or trying to not make money, trying to like actually look out for the health of the citizens.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we can't do so much to fix the overall system per se, but we can focus on our internals and our decisions. So talking about, vanquishing debt, medical debt, all that stuff. Let's get right into it. What do we got?
Yeah, so the 5 do's and don'ts that I talked about at the end of it, we'll just start there since you had to listen to the whole thing. Some people might have tuned out, but I have 5 do's and don'ts of things when it comes to medical debt. So number 1, do review your medical bills before making any payments. And we talked about this a lot on Monday. Unfortunately, 1/3 of people that actually review the checks they have. So once you receive that first medical bill in the mail and you look at it and it says whatever it does, the first thing you should be doing is calling up the hospital or the emergency room, wherever you went, and ask for an itemized list of everything you were charged for. Because unfortunately, the bad part is when you get that first bill, that doesn't mean it's the only bill. So you might think like, oh, thank goodness I got this bill. It's only like $30. I can pay for that. But that could only be for one type of procedure that was done there. Yeah. So it's good to get a list of all the things that you're going to be charged for. So at least you know at the onset, okay, I'm going to probably be getting 6 more bills for all these other things. Because you never really know. So it's good to first call up the insurance company or first call up the hospital and get an itemized list. And unfortunately, when you're dealing with insurance companies, you're dealing with hospitals, you're dealing with bureaucracy. So when you call and you ask for that thing, it might take some time and they're going to be very annoyed that you asked for those things. But only in the American healthcare system do you need to really be your own advocate. You need to be your own bulldog and go out there and fight to get what's right for you because no one else is coming to save you. There's not going to be, there are charities and stuff that come and help people. Yeah. But it's not common. If you just sit there waiting for it, likely it's not going to be you.
Yeah. It's like we all want a hero. We all want someone to save us. Oftentimes as guys, we're supposed to play the hero role that saves the princess, right? But every now and again, hey, I wouldn't mind to be saved every now and again. That'd be kind of nice. Dude, because I know for myself, and I'm sure, Chris, you've been in this too. We've been up creek without a paddle. And you're like, dude, I don't know how I'm going to get past this. I don't know how I'm going to get through this. There's no one coming. Like there's literally only I can solve this problem. And God, I would love to have a hero right now and just wipe all my debts away. Wipe all my problems away. Bam. No problem. But unfortunately for everybody, that's not how life works. So we've got to deal with our problems and focus on what we can focus on and focus on what we can actually change. And I think that's what I like most about the 5 do's and don'ts. It's not like, oh, number 1, it's like, don't go to the hospital. It's like, no, like that's don't die. It's like, no, that's not feasible, right? We're not getting off the rock alive. But I do like that, review your medical bills before making any payments.
Yeah, and I think so call and make sure you check everything, check it all. And you have to be your own advocate. If you just sit there and wait, like, oh, someone's going to help me out, but you need to do it. You need to be the person to take it upon yourself.
Yeah, because we were talking about last podcast, like they could have charged you for something that they did in a different room, or charged you for something that they didn't even do, or overcharged you, or double X-ray. We gave you 2 X-rays. It's like, no, you didn't. You gave me 2 X-rays. Yeah, 1 X-ray, right? So you got to keep these guys accountable because they're very money hungry. They've been doing this for ages, and they love to rip people off. So yeah,
it's hard. It's hard when it comes to hospitals. I think it just is what it is. Like I wouldn't go as far as to say like the hospitals are trying to screw over their patients. I'm just saying that like inaccuracies happen. They happen all the time.
Yeah.
And it just is what it is. And sometimes, unfortunately, what could happen is they could charge you for something, and just the way that they charged it or the way that they worded it, insurance might not cover it. But if they cover it in a different way, if they say, oh, something else happened, then it's okay. And I talked last time about getting these little things cut out of my head that was once thought as cancer. Then when they came out, they said like, oh, they're not cancerous cysts. Insurance is like, oh, I'm not going to cover that then. If it was cancer, then we would cover it. So had I known this, I could, my bad. Sorry, I didn't have cancer.
My bad.
Yeah. But had I known this, I could have gone back to the doctor and be like, hey, can you resubmit that and just be like, we had to check it for, like ask them, could you do something to work with the insurance company to try to get it paid off rather than just paying off that, I think it was like $500-$700 bill. I just pay that straight up where I could have gone back and asked questions.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And you're leaving money on the table by not picking up the phone and calling the hospital and negotiating, just being personable with them and understanding.
Yeah, so that's always going to be the first thing is make sure that you pick up the phone, make a phone call, see what's going on with not only the hospital, also call your insurance too. Call the hospital first, obviously get the itemized bill, but then call your insurance and understand what's going on with your coverage, with your thing, with your medical procedures. Why were these things not covered? I thought this was covered, but you need to have some knowledge there as to what's going on with your own coverage, what's going on with what you got billed. You need to know all that stuff because if you just go to them like, I don't understand, they're just going to be like, it is what it is. But if you understand a little bit, you can be like, no, like, this is what this thing says. So why are you guys fighting with me here? And most of the time they're willing to concede.
Yeah, we love when they concede.
Mm-hmm. So that's number one. Do review your medical bills before making any payments. Number two, don't be afraid to ask for help as soon as possible. You know, we talked last time about you have about 30 days to make sure that you make contact with a hospital. After that, there's a good chance they're going to send that to collections. And now you're talking with a collections person, not with a hospital, to try to get this done. And that collection agency is now acting as the middleman between you and the hospital to have to kind of go back and forth on. But when your things are with that first collections agency with the hospital, they're willing to work with you. They're willing to figure out, can we make a payment plan? If we write things off, can we get this done? What can we do to get this paid so that we don't have to sell your debt for pennies on the dollar to some other collection agency where they no longer own the debt? Mm-hmm. Think of it this way. So if you have $100 bill and say it's just $100 and they send you that letter, Dominic, you owe us $100. You get that letter and you go, I'm not going to pay that. You put it inside of a drawer somewhere. They send you another one saying, hey, Dominic, we sent you this bill. The date is by this day. Again, you get it. You're like, I'm going to throw this away because I want to deal with it. Well, eventually it's going to get to the point where the medical people are going to call you again and say like, hey, this is your final notice. If you don't get this done, we're going to escalate the situation. Most people go like, yeah, go for it. Mm-hmm. They throw it away. What happens then is now they have this $100 worth of debt that they were trying to collect on from you.
Yeah.
So rather than continue to fight with you when they know that you're not going to pay it, they're going to sell that for pennies on the dollar, typically 6 cents on the dollar. So they're going to sell that $100 worth of debt for $6 to a recollections agency.
Yeah.
That recollection agency, they don't own this. They now own that $100. So they got a spreadsheet with your name, your address, how much debt you owed, and your social security number.
Yeah.
And your phone number. Now they get to start calling you saying, hey, you owe us this $100 for this medical debt. And then eventually they're going to give up on you or they're going to not give up on you. And of course, it's all going to depend on how much money you owe them. If it's $100, most of the time they're going to not even worry about it. But if it's hundreds of thousands of dollars, they are willing to sue you in order to get that money because their return on investment is going to be huge to get $100,000 in order to sue you to put you through this and garnish your wages.
Wow. Yeah, that's a scary place to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely a very scary place to be.
But if you're willing to ask for help as soon as possible with a hospital, with the first collections agency, if it gets to that point, they're willing to, I've seen many people be able to write off 50% of the top line. So say you owe $1,000, they're willing to go down to $500 just to get it paid up in full because either they make $500 right now, or they sell it for 6 cents on the dollar and they make $60.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, that whole system of like buying debt and selling debt is just a wild system, because we talked about like ghost debt as well a few podcasts
Zombie
back.
debt.
Zombie debt. Yeah, it's one of those like weird like ghoul type things. Yeah, zombie debt. Like that is just explaining that again. It's like the zombie debt is basically where it's like you pay it off, but it's still people are still calling you for it.
Well, no, it's past the statute of limitations, but people can still call you on it. So there's actually been a new resurgence of zombie debt that's been really, really bad from 2008. So a lot of us remember 2008 subprime mortgage lending crisis. Everyone went ahead and failed on making their loans. So what a lot of people knew is that people were not putting any money down, or they were getting loans that they weren't eligible for. But some people were even getting loans to make the down payment. So you had to have, so people were purchasing houses with no money down. The way they're able to do that is they got a loan to pay for the house, but they didn't have the money to even make the initial money down, the $100,000, whatever you needed. So they were getting another loan for that. Now, eventually what ends up happening is when the sub-mortgage prices happened, President Obama at the time went ahead and helped a lot of people by deferring payments on the main loan that people purchased out so that they could try to stay in their homes, because a lot of these banks, they didn't want to repossess the homes either. But they did nothing for the people that had to take out a loan for the down payment. So a lot of people thought like, oh, both of these things are getting taken care of in the same situation. But eventually what ended up happening was there was a bunch of private equity companies that ended up purchasing up those loans to get the down payment. And they held on to those for years and years and years, waiting for home appreciations to continue to go up. So now in 2024, 2023, housing prices are at an all-time high. And especially during COVID, this happened a lot, but we weren't hearing about it till now. Housing prices were up really high. And now debt collectors are calling people saying, hey, you owe us $80,000 for that down payment that you made that you never paid on. And people are like, no, that got forgiven, or something happened with that with the government where they like helped us do things. Like, no, not that. The loan for the mortgage was taken care of, but not the loan for the down payment. Either you pay us right now, or we're repossessing your house.
Wow.
And they legally have the right to do that.
Wow. And have people been repossessed like that? Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
And then they sell the house, and then they pay off the remaining mortgage. They pay off there, and then they give the rest to the homeowner.
Wow. It's sad.
And that could happen to you with medical debt too. So you need to make sure that doesn't happen by making sure that reinsurance stuff, or that resale never happens, by taking care of it at the beginning. Take care of it when the hospital still has the bill. Take care of it when the first collections person has the bill. Don't let it get to that point.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, also, if that's going to be the case, if you do let it get to that point, make sure that you're aware of the statute of limitations for your state. Because that's going to be dependent on how long they can collect on that kind of stuff. Because for some states, it's 10 to 15 years. And if it's 10 to 15 years, you need to know that this can come and bite you in the ass in a decade to a decade and a half.
Yeah. And the only way to get out of that is just facing it, right? Just being open to, point number 4, negotiating, right?
Yeah. Point number 3 is to negotiate.
Number 3, thank you. People are afraid to negotiate. People are afraid to get on the phone. I was listening to a call yesterday between an investor and a person wanting to sell their home. And it was a 57-minute battle. I'd literally never heard anything like it. It was just the most like heated, and not there wasn't any swearing, there wasn't anything like that, but like it was just tense, heated, push, give and take, all this stuff. And at the end of it, they came to terms with making a deal. And I thought it was so interesting how, me, even me myself, right? I'll call whatever, I'll call whoever. And I actually used to work for, this little Dom lore for you. I used to work for a political campaign making phone calls.
Fun.
Yeah, it's super fun. Making hundreds of phone calls a day. So I know a little bit about that, but it is scary to negotiate. I'll say that. And point number 3, negotiate with the medical debt. negotiate with the hospital itself before it gets sold, correct? That's when you want to do it, right? Because once it gets sold, it's they can't do anything about it. So obviously
they don't care. They don't care about you. Like they bought it for pennies on the dollar and they want the full price.
Exactly. Right. So when you go to negotiate, what are we looking for? Obviously, we're looking for an itemized account of everything that they're billing you for.
Yep.
You're looking to see if it qualifies for hardship or anything like that.
Hardship, yep, for material or initial hardship. Okay. And for that, you're going to want to know your finances. Be like, this is how much I can pay. You need to be able to tell them, like, these are the bills that I already have that are coming in.
Yeah.
This is how much I can afford to pay. And you need to be your own advocate and say, I can only afford to pay $300 a month.
Yeah.
Like, can we set up a plan where I'm paying $300 a month for X number of years? If I do a crowdfunding campaign, if I get money from my parents, if I do whatever, will you cut this bill by 80% in order for me to just pay it off in like a lump sum of 20%?
Yep.
Negotiate. And I think so many people are afraid of negotiation because they think it's going to be a win-lose situation, that I'm battling somebody.
Yeah.
But both people, they both want to win this situation. And sometimes with negotiation, there is no true win-win where we both leave feeling 100% happy about the outcome. Because if that was the case, if you go into a negotiation to try to wipe out medical, that your win is you pay nothing and they absorb everything.
Yeah.
But the negotiation is something that you can both live with.
Yeah.
Can you be okay with doing a lump sum of 20% of it and they're okay with accepting that and just having it done with?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 20% is much better than 100%.
Yeah. And just be willing to go in there, be kind, listen, understand their situation, and try to get them to understand your situation. Because remember, you're not dealing with this big entity of these people. You're dealing with an individual. And that individual that you're talking with has the power often to do whatever they can to help you out to get this off of their desk.
Yeah. Yeah. You're not talking to the CEO, right? It's not like, hey, go play, forget you, you start cussing at him and he's like, oh, I've realized the error of my ways, right? No, it's like you're talking to a person in the finance department, right? They work a 9 to 5. They might have a spouse and a kid, right? They're just a normal person. So talk to them like a normal person would. That's one thing that I dislike when people get on the phone with like a help desk or something like that, and they start berating them and just like, dude, you're not going to get good service if you're just berating someone and just being blatantly rude.
I mean, I think you're talking to someone who's making like probably minimum wage ish, and you're going to berate them. Like, they're not going to help you. If you're kind to someone, you can help them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. You're not going to get anything with vinegar. You get more with honey, always. So number 4, very, very important. Very important. Yeah. Do not put medical debts on credit card. Unless, right? Unless you have the cash to cover it immediately. And you're doing it for like a little credit card hacking, right? Chris. Yep. Chris loves to do the credit card hacking. That's how he travels the world. Goes to Tokyo, to leave all these wonderful places, right? Credit card hacking, wonderful thing. We have multiple podcasts on it. But it's not smart to put your debt on credit card not smart to put your medical debt on credit card, because we're talking about what? 15%, 20%, 30% interest on these cards sometimes. It's not it. It's not it. Nope. Right? Unless you can pay it off immediately. Right.
Yeah, especially when most medical facilities, most hospitals are willing to give you 0% interest loans or very, very low interest loans. Why would you go ahead and say, like, you know what? I don't want your 0% interest loan. I prefer my credit card's 30% interest loan to your 0%. Like, that just seems better to me for some reason. It's higher. I like bigger numbers.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. So before we even get to the credit card, remember that we already did the other 3 steps. We already checked to make sure that the medical bill was correct. We already reviewed it with everyone. We asked for help. We negotiated. Then we pay. Exactly. Now, if you look at it and you say it's like $15 for, like, I don't know, an X-ray, and you're like, okay, whatever, and you know that's it. You just want to pay it. I'm not going to tell you to make a phone call if you don't want to. Yeah.
If personal finance is personal. If you say $15 for an X-ray is fine, I agree with you. That's fine. I'll pay $15 to not have to make a phone call. I get that. But also you want to reframe it of, rather than I'm saving myself $15 by making this phone call, is making this phone call worth $15 to me? That little bit of mental jujitsu when it comes to finance helps so much.
Absolutely. Because if I can pick up the phone and save $500, that's a good phone call. I'd make that call. Right, I'd make that call.
You should.
But
so many people they wouldn't do it if it's oh, I can save you $500 to make this phone call. They're like, no, it's okay because I've already lost that money. But if you say like, but you can make $500 making this call, everyone's like, yeah, willing to do that.
Yeah.
So that it's mental jujitsu. It's financial jujitsu. Just reframe it in your head.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Are we ready to get on to point number 5, the final point?
Yeah.
Do prioritize your debts, right? Well, do you want to go into that one a little bit, Chris?
Yeah. I mean, paying your medical bets, it's important. And just know that many hospitals are willing to set up monthly payment plans that's affordable.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really important to understand that the credit bureau, and it's also important to understand that credit bureaus, they consider medical debt to be low priority debt, comparatively speaking to other ones like your mortgage debt, credit card debt, for example. And then also medical debt is weighted differently on credit reports. So missing a debt payment, a medical debt payment, is not as financially damaging as missing your mortgage payment or your credit card payment. And there's also federal laws that prohibit credit bureaus from putting medical debt on your credit report until it's past at least 6 months to a year, depending on which state you're in.
Interesting.
So you have time to focus on other bills if other bills are more important. I'm not saying forgo the medical bills entirely. I'm not saying like, oh, well, I have my mortgage and stuff, so I'm not going to even reach out to the hospital to let them know. You still have to reach out to the hospital. You still need to set up that payment plan. If you don't, it gets sent to collections. If it don't, it gets sent to a worse situation. You need to call them. You need to tell them because you have 30 to 60 days while it's still at the hospital to try to figure this out.
Absolutely.
After that, it's getting sold off.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. 100%. So yeah, I hope these 5 tips definitely helped you. If you want more of a deep dive on the entire medical system and how
bad it is,
how to navigate it a little bit, how to get through it, how to prepare yourself, go check out Monday's pod. Grab a cup of hot cocoa if you're in a cold climate, which probably not now that I think about it, it's summer. But relax, get into that pod, really understand it, because medical debt is one of those things where it's like, I do not want to learn it, Chris. There's nothing about medical debt that I want to learn. I can't stand it. It's not like, yo, Chris, my guy, let's talk about medical debt. It's like, no, but if I don't learn it, I can get wiped out from it if I'm not careful.
Yeah, that's where it's really big for people on the path of financial independence, is that it can take you out at any point in financial independence. Even if you are fully financially independent, like I have millions of dollars in the bank. One medical mistake could really just ruin all that. And not even a mistake, just one medical tragedy.
Yeah.
So again, the 5 things you need to do, the 5 do's and don'ts, is do review your medical bills before making any payments. Don't be afraid to ask for help as soon as possible. Do negotiate. Don't put medical debt on credit cards, and do prioritize your debts.
Absolutely.
And then remember our action steps from last week. It's look, if you have your own insurance policy through your provider, through public, through private, through whatever you have it through, pull that out. Look at it. Begin to understand it. Even if you're reading it, you don't understand what the hell it means. If you don't know what a word means, go to Google, look it up. Start to understand who's in network, who's out of network. What are my copays? What are my deductibles? What's my max out of pocket? What are my premiums? I need to know all these things, and then also have an emergency plan. So in case something does happen, because it will eventually happen, that this is the place that I want to go to in case something happens. Take me to this emergency room because they're in my network. And also if things go out awry, they have a really good charity system that helps me to pay things down. Again, all this information is accessible online through the hospital website. They might not be easy to find, but I guarantee you can find it if you really want to look.
Yeah, and might not be easy, but it's definitely worth looking at. Right.
Because insurance, most people hate it. I don't like insurance either. And I remember a long time ago, someone telling me like, oh, don't even worry about getting insurance because the insurance company isn't going to pay anyways, which is terrible advice, by the way. Partially true, but terrible advice. You need to make sure that you are aware of what's going on, because just like oxygen, we take it for granted until we really, really need it.
Isn't that the truth? Well, with that being said, I think that concludes our recap portion of the podcast on Monday's episode of learning more about medical debt and all that fun stuff. So with that being said, we're going to move on to our second part, our 5 Friday feedback viewer mailbag time. This is where we take viewer letters from the podcast. And, if you want to reach out to us, feel free to reach out at the5guys.com or where else can they reach out, Chris? So that's the best place.
Yeah, you can either email the Fi Guys video podcast at gmail.com or just go to the5guys.com, go to the feedback tab, write in please give us more information rather than less. The better, more information you give us, the more direct and individualized I can actually make the information to you. Remember, this is all for informational purposes only. I am not your financial advisor. I am a financial advisor, but we are not in business together.
Yeah, it's entertainment purposes. So let's get right into today's viewer mailbag. My elderly parents want me. Let me scratch that. I gotta really dial in. My elderly parents wanting to move to the U.S. with $300,000 cash. Can they survive retirement with this money? That is today's viewer mailbag. Alrighty, let's get into it. So, as the story goes, my parents have always been pillars of strength for me. My dad's 65, my mother's 63. Spent their entire lives working hard in Southeast Asia, ensuring that I had a good education and a stable upbringing. They ran a small business, saving diligently over the years, and managed to accumulate a modest nest egg of $300,000. If converted to American money, right? Good old USD.
Well, so they have $300,000 if they convert to American, but they live in Southeast Asia.
Yeah, 300.
Oh, they could probably.
Yeah, 300,000 Southeast Asia. Pretty good.
That's good.
Dude,
that's really good.
We can live good on 300,000, baby, dude. Oh man, trust me. I don't know about this, but every guy below their 35s has probably considered like moving to like Thailand or like Bali or just like somewhere for a period of their life. Because I'm like, dude, it's just cheaper. It's just cheaper.
Yeah,
it's better.
So I've thought about it. I looked into it. On average, in order for me to live here in America, it's like $60,000 to $80,000 a year. In Thailand, I looked at it. It was like 15 grand a year.
Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo.
And to live well, like it's not like living on the streets. Like
no, it's good. I've looked into it. Oh man.
Yeah, it's 15 grand. So a lot of people can, you can geo arbitrage your financial independence number and just be like, hey, I reached $300,000. I'm going to retire at 25 in Thailand. And it's just like, it never come back.
Dude, honestly, it's not a bad option. It's not horrible. Listen, I'm in another life. Chris and I might be in Thailand. I don't know.
Yeah, if I didn't have my beautiful wife and all my animals,
exactly,
and all this stuff, I'd probably be. Yeah,
100%. I know the story. Okay, so we left off $300,000 nest egg, East Asia, right? However, recently my family's conflicts back home have disrupted their peace and happiness. This has led them to consider a drastic change, moving all the way to the United States to live with me, their only child. I am currently a permanent resident, and I can sponsor them with the family reunification visa, which would eventually lead to their green cards. While this move seems like a beacon of hope amidst the turmoil, it brings forth a whirlwind of financial and logistical challenges.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. In their home country of Southeast Asia, $300,000 would allow my parents to live comfortably through their retirement years. The cost of living is super low. Healthcare is affordable, but in the US, particularly where I live, the cost of living is significantly higher. And that's, dude, anywhere where you live in America, it's going to be significantly higher, right?
Yeah, we just talked all about healthcare and how bad that is.
Yeah, honestly, my parents have expressed a desire to help me purchase a house, suggesting they could use their savings as a down payment for a $300,000 home. Oh, wait, no. Using their down payment on a $300,000 home. No, I did read that right. With the idea that they could all live together. Okay, so basically the parents want to move to America with their only child, and they're willing to put up a little bit of their savings as a down payment for the home.
Yeah.
Okay. They proposed that I would take on the mortgage payments while they provide the initial capital. As touching as this offer is, and touching it is, I have some serious reservations about it and its practicality and sustainability. Really.
All right.
Yeah, talk to
so
me
I'm
about
going to pause you right
here.
here.
Yeah, do it. Right
I see that there's a lot more questions he has, but I want to just, what we'll do is we'll break it up because there's a lot of questions. And I read his last question and I don't think he knows what questions to ask based off of the questions or based off of where he's going with this.
Yeah.
So first off, let's say that your parents do decide, all right, we're going to sell everything. We're going to move. I don't know if selling everything is going to
Changes the
bring that
number.
300,000. It changes the number, but let's just say that it doesn't. $300,000, and we're not even going to include the cost of moving, which is going to be huge. Like just plane tickets from here to Thailand, Philippines, wherever it is.
Yeah.
Let's say that's $5,000 too, or like that's probably going to be $5,000. So let's say we come here with $300,000. Their plan is for you to purchase a $300,000 home, and they're going to put down the 20% needed for that, which is what, $60,000, right?
Something like that,
right? Yeah, $60,000 for a $300,000 home. You just said that you live in a high cost of living area. What home are you going to get that's going to fit 3 people for $300,000 if you live in a high cost living area?
Honestly,
I don't know where you are. Maybe you're in Washington. Maybe you're in New York. Maybe you're in California. Maybe you're even here in Arizona. That's not that expensive. $300,000 will not buy you a house that will be suitable for 3 people, or at least not suitable for the kind of life that you're probably going on to live.
yeah. You could find a house under 300,000. You can find stuff for 150,000, right? But do you want to move to Ohio? You know, it seems like their life is built already. You know, they don't want to have to downsize and move in order to bring their parents.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So that could be really difficult. But imagine this too, is you buy a $300,000 house. Let's say you can find this magical $300,000 house that you want to move into. Your parents now have to spend $60,000 for the down payment. And then let's also do closing costs and other things like that. So another 10%. So let's say they come out of pocket $66,000. Well, now they have $234,000 for 2 people to live on for the next 20, 30 years. Hey, if they're Filipino, they're going to live forever. So we're going to have to think about that.
It's true.
They're going to have to continue to live off just that small amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
So that's first off, when they say that, like putting down their money for the down payment, and then their plan basically to retire is that you're going to take care of them.
Yeah.
Once they run out of that money.
Yeah.
So let's continue to hear what else they have to say.
All right. Given their age, my parents are on the cusp of retirement and unlikely to find employment that would be a suitable income. They might qualify for Social Security benefits, but these would likely be minimal. The financial support would not be sufficient to cover their living expenses, let alone their medical costs, which are considerably higher in the U.S. compared to the home country. Chris, set them straight. Set them straight.
Or pausing again. Yeah. So, if your parents did move here, there would be no way they'd be able to retire if they were to do their first plan, because they'd have $240,000 to retire on. Additionally, if they were citizens of some place in Southeast Asia the entire time, and they never paid into the American Social Security system, they're not eligible for Social Security. So it sounds like this is the first time they're going to be moving here. They're not going to be eligible for any Social Security. Maybe they would not be eligible for Medicare. They may be eligible for Medicaid. Once they have their visa.
True.
So yeah, they're not being able to find suitable employment isn't even in it. If it is not in it, like they're going to have to find some sort of employment. I don't care if they're Walmart greeters. They're going to have to figure out something to bring in income, especially with this system. So think about that. You need to tell your parents these types of things. Like if you move here, your money will not allow you to retire. Yeah, it just won't. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. All right, let's continue on. I need to cut this. No. You don't get Social Security just because you hit some magical age in America. You also need to pay into it. It's basically a return of premium that you have been putting into your entire life.
Yeah. Given their circumstances, investing their money in traditional retirement accounts, such as a Roth IRA, isn't feasible due to the penalties for early withdrawal and the time required for investments to mature. More volatile investments like stocks and mutual funds also seem too risky at this stage of their life.
Okay, pause.
Yeah, pause it.
So, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Okay. First off, a Roth IRA is an investment type, or it's an account that you put your money into. You can only put money into a Roth IRA if you have earned income in a year. You can put into a Roth IRA, which current limits are $7,000, or you're sponsored by a Roth 401k. You can't take your parents' $300,000 and put it into this into this special tax advantaged account. Even if you did, it's not going to be subject to any penalties because they're over 59 and a half, but you can't put the money into it anyway. So it's regardless. All that money is going to have to go into a non-qualified account where it's going to get taxed on every time you buy or sell or any dividends that you get. So this whole Roth thing is completely infeasible at all because it doesn't matter. They can't do it in any way, shape, or form. If they come here to get a job, then yeah, they contribute to a Roth, but they're going to take the money out regardless anyways because they're over 59 and a half. So it doesn't mean anything. More volatile investments like stocks and mutual funds are going to be far too risky if they're already in retirement and they only have this $300,000 minus the down payment. You have $240,000. You put that money in and the stock market drops by 30%. Now you have $100,000 and now they have to live off $100,000 for two people for the rest of their lives. And then, yeah, there's a lot of things that were wrong with that statement.
All right. Ooh, okay. So one option I'm considering is placing their savings in a high yield savings account. This would provide a steady, if modest, stream of income to help cover their monthly expenses without putting the principal at risk. However, I'm not confident this approach alone would be enough to ensure financial security. Okay. Anything you want to say on that one, Chris?
Yeah. So let's say that we do. Let's say that they move here. They have $300,000, and let's just say that they keep the $300,000 and they have extra money.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, I think the best high yielding savings account is returning like 5%.
The best, yeah.
The best. So let's say that they get one that's 4% because it's going to fluctuate, right? So let's say they find some sort of investment, some sort of savings account that guarantees you 4% for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
4% of $300,000 is $12,000. Your parents will have to live off of $12,000 a year for the rest of their life in order to not eat up with the principal.
$1,000 a month.
$1,000 a month to live off of for two people.
Yeah.
So again, that's not a feasible way of doing things.
No, it's really not. It's really not. Okay. I love my parents deeply, and I want to ensure that they have a comfortable life, but I'm also aware that their plan to use their entire savings as a down payment for a house might jeopardize their financial stability. They want to use their entire savings for a down payment on a house?
Maybe.
That's what it says. I'm not financially well educated, and I'm not financially well educated, and I'm in the process of learning how to best manage my own finances, let alone advising on theirs. Given their circumstances, what would be the best course of action for my parents if they choose to move to the US, and how can I help them secure a comfortable retirement without sacrificing my own financial well-being? I'm open to any advice or insights as I navigate this challenging situation. Thank you for your advice in advance. I very much appreciate it. A home to share with love and care. My parents looking to retire in the States, but is that the best for their fates? For their fates. Fates, thank you. My goodness. Oh my word. Ugh.
So what are you thinking on this one, Dominic? Should they move to America right now? Just hop on over.
Oftentimes here on the podcast we talk about money versus happiness, right? And living your best life. Sometimes we sacrifice our peace, our happiness, our joy in order to save a few bucks, in order to squeeze, in order to not feel so financially vulnerable. Here in this case, normally I would say, you got to do what's best, right, for your happiness. But in this case, you don't want your parents 65 and older working, right? I don't want to be 35 and working. Okay, but that's a dream of mine. 65 and working, it's not ideal, right? Especially when they're moving here, right? How well is their English, right? How well are they gonna, emigrate into society? As far as the 300,000, it's a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money to retire, especially when you're coming into probably one of the more costly sections of your life. Speaking on medical debt, since we've done 2 podcasts on it now.
But typically, just so you know, retirement is actually the least expensive part of people's lives.
Really? I would think it's the most expensive because of medicals.
On average.
Really?
Most people who are going into that stage also get Medicare. So for the first time in their life, their stuff's already getting taken care of by Medicare.
Okay.
Which is not perfect. No. I will grant you, it's not perfect, but it is much better it's often better than private.
Yeah. I love the idea of the parents coming home. You know, me personally, I wouldn't want my parents living with me. I know, Chris, you had some relatives staying with you for a couple of days or a week or so. And it's just like
a month or so.
It's like a month. Yeah, it's like, you know, Chris and I are the same in the aspect, like, we love you, but we love our space and we love our routine and our peace. And when that's disrupted, gets it under our skin for a little bit. I think it would be a poor move to move. I think.
Yep.
I think it would be better just to like go and visit your parents as much as you can, right? And I wish they could come to America and you know, live out the rest of their days here and one day happy family. But I don't know. I'm having trouble seeing a path forward. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I 100% agree. So I know that this kind of all got started based off their letter saying that something happened back home where they're like, I think they put it in here.
Turmoil.
However, recent family conflicts back home has disrupted their peace and happiness. So retiring in Southeast Asia with $300,000, I know you worked your entire lifetime, and that's going to be converted into American currency. Mm-hmm. I don't know like how many. I don't even know what.
Yeah, I'm not sure
what that currency would be, but it's going to be dramatically different if you move here. Could your parents maybe, instead of moving to America, move to a different part of Southeast Asia? So like the Philippines are a string of islands. Could you move to a different island and like get away from that family conflict? Would that be enough to figure this out? Because my big thing is right now they're thinking like, we need to get away from this situation. We need to uproot our whole life and change everything, and then things will be better. But there's something you're going to sacrifice. So you're going to gain maybe a level of more comfort not being around maybe like bad family members or whatever happened. I don't know what happened to this person, why they want to leave. But what are you going to give up? You're going to give up all of your financial security and everything that you worked your entire life for. $300,000 to retire in Southeast Asia, especially if they already own their home and stuff, is a great retirement.
Yeah.
But if you move to America, you don't have that home anymore. You're going to have to sell that or do whatever you have to do in order to come here. And $300,000 for one person to live off of in retirement is not enough with Social Security.
Yeah.
Remember that retirement was always supposed to be a 3-legged stool. Number 1 is supposed to be Social Security. Number 2 is supposed to be a pension. And number 3 is supposed to be savings. Well, pensions are gone. Social Security for your parents, they're not going to get it. $300,000 of your savings is not enough for one person to live off of. Far less 2 people. Remember the 4% rule. The 4% rule means you can take out this money and it should last indefinitely. Mm-hmm. 4% of $300,000, that's disregarding that they put down any money for a down payment, is $12,000. That means that your mom and your dad gets $500 a month to live off of. That's going to include their housing, their utilities, their food, every single thing. Any medical stuff, $500. That's all they get. Are your parents willing to sacrifice their happiness of being at home and having to deal with whatever that issue is, or moving to America and living on $500 a month?
Mm-hmm. Because let's be honest, like you're going to have to subsidize them as the kid, right?
Yep.
You're now taking on personal responsibility, not necessarily jeopardizing your financial future. I don't know what kind of job they have. I don't know what their income expenses are, but you're definitely going to be taking on that burden, right?
Yeah.
And
we've talked about it before, right? If your parents don't have a plan for retirement, then their plan for retirement is you. It's their kid. Mm-hmm. Which if your parents move here to America, if they stay in wherever they are in Southeast Asia, there's a good chance they'll be able to retire comfortably and never have to depend on you, besides if any big medical issues happen. But if they move here, their plan is to help you purchase a house, help you get the down payment for the house. You're going to take on the mortgage and you're going to care for them for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
Now, I'm really big on family. Like I'm Hawaiian. We're really big on family, but you need to draw the line somewhere for you in your life. I'm not willing to let someone come and live with me forever, but that's something you have to decide for yourself. There are cultures where it's very implicit that when you grow up, you will take care of me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And is that the situation that you want to be in? So I would definitely reevaluate the home purchase. Even if they do move here, purchasing a home with them and having them draw any amount of that $300,000 capital to purchase a home, bad idea. That's a terrible idea, especially with housing prices the way they are. Good luck even finding a place for $300,000 that you all can live in. If they do move here, they're going to need a very strong budget. And like, I know I like spending plan, but if they're living on $500 a month, it's a freaking budget. Like, yeah, it is like, we're not going to use semantics at that point. They will not be allowed to get Social Security if they haven't paid into it. So, and it's 40 quarters. So 10 years of paying Social Security gets you the top 10 years. So they're not going to have that. Honestly, you're going to have to start looking at like, what are their healthcare considerations? Will they even be eligible for Medicare and Medicaid? If you're not a citizen of this country, I don't think you can. But again, I'm not a professional on that. So you're going to have to figure that out. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to figure out with a financial advisor, or for you, since you don't know any of this stuff based off the questions you were asking, you're going to need to get a financial advisor to help you with an investment strategy that's going to be suitable for your parents, that hopefully will allow them to live off the rest of their life. For something like this, I would think of maybe like an immediate annuity can maybe help out off for your parents, or maybe you can come up with an investment strategy that's going to help to gain some returns, but there is nothing that's going to be guaranteed. Mm-hmm. And your parents are 65 and they're together. There's a good chance they're going to live at least another 10 to 30 years. So that's a long time to have to try to make $300,000 last in retirement. So I would definitely seek professional financial advice. You're going to have to discuss with your parents if they do move, like what are their living arrangements going to be with you? There's a good chance that you guys aren't going to afford a house. You're going to probably have to move in together. And then they're going to have to look at part-time work or full-time work.
Yeah.
Because they do not have the money to just full on retire at all. That's just the situation that they're in. So could they move to a different place? Maybe Mexico, maybe a different part of Southeast Asia, just a more inexpensive place to retire. Because right now you're wanting to move from one of the cheapest places in the world to one of the most expensive places in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I hope that helps you, viewer. Hope that at least is more information to you that adds up to your final decision. Yeah, I mean, it's beautiful though that you have two parents in your life. It's beautiful that you have parents that would be willing to, tolerate you and live with you and all that fun stuff. A lot of parents, they wouldn't want to move in with their kids, and vice versa.
And vice versa. I think that's a big thing. Vice versa.
Vice versa. Yeah.
Remember, right now the parents are dependent on their kid to take care of them.
Yeah.
If this happens,
mm-hmm.
So you need to really ask yourself, is that something you're willing to do? And with that, I really hope you the best. You can always reach out to Chris at monsonwealth.com. I can always talk with you further regarding that decision, or just reach out to a fiduciary advisor in your local area to kind of figure that out. Unfortunately, they're not going to really be able to help a lot unless it comes to like, what can we do to help my parents draw off this income without anything? But yeah, no Social Security, nothing like that. They're really going to be moving here and hoping to fully retire, fully go financially independent with $300,000.
Yeah. All I can say is, man, I wish I had 300 grand and I was in Southeast Asia. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I could live good over there, dude.
Yeah.
Oh man.
If it was me and I was in this situation, I was the parents, I would just move to a different part. I would mm-hmm. leave. If I have like family squabbles or like, I don't know, maybe there's like some sort of illegal mishap or whatever. Who knows? Yeah. I'm uprooting my life and moving to a different part of an inexpensive area rather than leaving the cheapest place in the world, one of the cheapest places in the world, to come to the most expensive place in the world.
Exactly. Dude, I'd go spearfishing every day, and
it'd be like someone who lives in like, I don't know, I think one of the most inexpensive places is like Alabama in America. It's like someone who like lived in Alabama their whole life. They are planning to retire and they're like, you know where I want to retire? I want to retire in Hawaii. And they move to the most expensive place in the US.
Yeah.
Like if you build up your whole life to do that, great. But if you're going to have a very meager retirement in Alabama, you're going to have a very terrible retirement in Hawaii.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing.
Yeah.
We're talking about different countries now, and it's even bigger of a
Culture
dynamic
shock.
that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but even financially, it's a bigger step that you have to make
Mm-hmm.
because you can live very well on $15,000 in many parts of Southeast Asia. If I gave you $15,000 and said, go ahead and make your life in America, it's not going to work out very well.
No. You're rice and beans for a long time.
Good luck even finding a place that's going to rent to you for 15 grand a year.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's at $1,200 a month. It's basically 15 grand a year. It's about, yeah, 1,200 a month. That's 100 and...
And for most places, if you're in a high cost of living area, that might, of $1,200 a month might get you a room in a house with utilities.
Yeah.
So all of your money is going just towards living under a roof. That doesn't include anything else.
Yep.
So think about that. And big hugs from Arizona. Good luck to you. Good luck to your parents. And I'm really sorry to hear that they're going through this. And I wish you all the best.
Awesome. Well, with that being said, we're going to get on to our third and final segment of the podcast where we talk about our wins of the week. And we call it, wait for it, win of the week. For today's win of the week, Chris, take the floor. It's all you.
So I am now fully leading my own jiu-jitsu classes as a professional jiu-jitsu coach at Gracie Barra. So if you're ever in the Phoenix area and you ever want to come, reach out to me. I'll tell you exactly which gym to go to. So yeah, I'm going to start leading the Monday, Wednesday morning classes to get more classes in there and also to lower my cost of going to jiu-jitsu.
Heck
so
yeah.
rather than, I'm not going to really get paid a lot. I'm not going to get paid anything really. I'm just not going to pay to go to jiu-jitsu, which is cool. And it's just something for fun anyways.
Yeah. You love it. You love it.
Yeah. I think some people ask me, like, why'd you become a jiu-jitsu coach? Like, you trying to make money off it? And it's like, no, it's just something that I'm passionate about and it's fun. And honestly, I did it selfishly because if you can teach something, if you can teach how to do jiu-jitsu moves, then you're going to know it more deeply and be able to perform them better. So it just elevates my jiu-jitsu game by being a coach.
Absolutely. For
What's your win of the week, Dom?
My win of the week, listen, normally mine don't compete with Chris's. And I would say that this is one of those weeks as well. But let me tell you, I recently purchased a new steamer for the house. And I know you're like, Dom, you're happy about like a steamer? What is this, the 50s? No, this is sick though. This is sick. I'm super excited about the steamer because my house is mostly tile. But what's cool about this is it has like different attachments. So I can like take it off and I can like steam like the bathtub and everything and like clean around the counters. So it's not just for the floor, but it's like for everything. So I can finally become the neat freak I always wanted to be. So I'm very excited about that. It's in the back. It's in the box. So as soon as this podcast finishes, I'm going to jet over to the living room and tear it open and just like steam the whole house.
You see, I'm worried about you, Dominic, that when you do hit financial independence, you're just going to become the oldest man in the world.
Dude, yeah, honestly, I don't know what I'm going to spend money on. The oldest young
man.
Man, probably like, I don't know, man. I don't know. My dad's like this too, though. Like he just left for Minnesota, and I was like, "You excited to get up to Minnesota?" He goes, "Oh, yeah." He's like, "The weather." It's like the weather. It's like 65 up there right now. He's like, "The weather and the daylight." He's like, "Man, I could work all day." I'm like, "What are you gonna do?" He's like, "Well, first off, I'm gonna mow the lawn." He's like one of those like classic American dads. He's like, "Oh, I can't wait to mow the lawn. I might cut some trees down. Feed the deer. So." Yeah, he's having a ball up there. So yeah, we'll see what I turn into when I get to 65, or hopefully I get financially free before then. But
well, that's the part of the pod, right?
Yeah.
So listeners, please continue to listen, subscribe. If you listen thus far and you're not subscribed, what are we doing here?
What are we doing?
And then please tell a friend about the Fi Guys podcast. Bring a friend along. It makes his journey so much more fun. And you get to see Dom's journey to financial independence. Hopefully he's able to reach it before the age of 65. And we're going to be there the entire time.
Yeah, buddy.
And we're going to help you also achieve financial independence far earlier than traditional retirement age, with just some good habits.
Absolutely. Well, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. I know I did. I love a good Friday pod. There's nothing, honestly, I look forward to Friday pod. You're like, Dom, Friday the weekend. It's like, no, Friday the pod. Okay. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to tell a friend, like Chris was saying. we're the Fi Guys, and we'll see you on Monday. Yeah, sounds good.
Later.
This video podcast is sponsored by Monzon Wealth. The content in this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice. We do not endorse specific products or services. Past performance does not guarantee future results. The opinions expressed are those of the host and guests, not the podcast sponsor.
It is crucial to consult with a qualified financial advisor or professional who can provide advice tailored to your specific needs before making any financial decisions, investments, or taking any other actions. If you are seeking specified help, you can reach out to Chris at monzonwealth.com.